Hello and welcome to Bonk Table. I'm Mass and I got another Conquest battle report for you guys. The big thing today is that there's been an update out for Conquest and a lot of tweaks have been done to a bunch of different factions. 100 Kingdoms was kind of in the bottom tier list quotes or bottom of the totem pole. So they've got a bunch of updates and changes, and I've kind of built a list kind of focusing on half of them, and the half I'm looking at is kind of like the big ones that I look at, and that's Cavalry, because that's why I got into 100 Kingdoms, because I wanted to do it on a horse, charge into people. This game is going to be between 100 Kingdoms and City States. We're playing at 1500 points because my City States opponent doesn't have 2000 points yet, so a bit of a smaller game, but still a really good one. 1500 points is a great play place, and also, as viewers and listeners, you can see how games work at different point levels. And with that, I'm kind of going to jump into my list. I'm probably going to do a little bigger of a talk and kind of point out the things that have changed. It's not a huge ton, but it's enough to, get those wheels turning and thinking of what is going on here? What can I use? What can I do with it? And so on. For 100 Kingdoms, the big change is that Dynastic Alliance is now just built in. I'm currently using the online army builder, what hasn't updated yet, so that's why only one character can be selected as your warlord. So I have 2 warlords, and you can either pick veterans or relentless drills now. So I Dynastic Alliancing Prior Commander of the Crimson Tower and a Mounted Noble Lord. Also, I'm in veterans, and that's basically just to get the Household Knights here on the right to Clash 3. That's really it. I have the points over to represent, the turning champion going to 50 points, so there you go. But for my list, Prior Commander change, he went from Impact 3 to Impact 4. That's really nice, because it was really weird when everyone did more impact attacks than him, considering he's supposed to be the boss of the Impacting Knights. The first Blessing Supremacy feat gives Bless to all the regiments in his warband, so he only has 3 stands of Crimson Towers. So those guys will just get blessed. Bless now works on impact attacks, that's really nice, so the thing that the Crimson Tower is actually really doing damage on, what was their impacts, they get blessed on it. It's great. It's a great change, and I'm really happy for it. And then we'll get into their next thing as we get to the actual order of the Crimson Tower, but I took Long Lineage and Armored Dominion onto the Prior Commander. I don't know, I had points left over, and I was kind of like, well, what if I just throw Armored Dominion on the Prior Commander? That'll be fun, I guess. So I kind of just did. It doesn't really come up because they get stabbed to death by sticks, because I'm playing into City States. For Order of the Crimson Tower, though, the big change on these guys is that they gained Wedge! So I'm going to scroll down to my rules to talk about and show you what that is. Wedge! There we go. So after you perform a successful charge, this regiment gains the Cleave +1 special rule into end of round. The Wedge! Is on Order of the Crimson Tower and Order of the Ashen Dawn, as well as a new mastery for the Mounted Noble Lord called Tip of the Lance, and that just gives you Wedge. This, I think, is actually really nice. I like it. It increases the damage of these regiments and what they needed. It really focuses you in on trying to achieve that charge clash, because before, a lot of the cavalry's damage just came from the charge, and so there was no reason to ever try and do a charge clash. However, the problem with that is that they didn't do enough damage on the charge to justify their point cost. So with this change, where you actually get cleave on your clash attacks, you are now, it's now being relevant. You're looking for those charge clashes instead of a march charge. You are looking for those spots where you can do damage. You're trying to use your superior speed quotes. I guess I'll get into my still issue with Cavalry right now as well. I don't like Movement 7. Movement 7 for Cavalry is not that great. The Household Knights get away with Movement 7 because they can take a turning champion, which makes them to Movement 9 during their charge action. So they kind of get away with it because they have that longer threat range. But Movement 7 on Priority Command or Order of the Crimson Tower, it's not great. There's a lot of things that just march charge into you and just hold you up. And then you're not getting your wedge, you're not getting your impact attacks with your brutal impact 2. Like, it still has that same problem as before. However, if you do get it off, it's much more rewarding now with wedge. And I'm kind of gonna, I guess, talk more about Household Knights at the end of this, because my viewpoint of them has changed a bit since this battle report and what I want to do with them going forward in my list construction because of playing this game. What is a nice thing? Like, these changes have helped. I just believe, like, you know, Order of the Crimson Tower should be back up to Movement 8. They need to get there. Household Knights being Movement 7 is fine because they have the tournament champion to compensate for them. So, with that, we're done the Priority Commanders Warband. We're going to go to the Mounted Noble Lord. This guy I super buffed up, and I gave him Ophelia's Roar. So that is +1 Clash on the charge and +1 Terrifying until end of round. He's got Weapon Master. Yay. And, oh, so he'd be Cleave too. Man, I messed that up. That's okay. And then Tip of the Lance. So Tip of the Lance is the wedge ability for masteries. So then I took a unit of Household Knights. I got 5 stands. They're veterans because I have the points left over, and I took the tourney champion in the free standard. They're Brutal Impact 1. Because my Mountain Noble Lord is my Dynastic Alliance Warlord, they go up to Impact 4, and they get to reroll 6s on their impact attacks. So this is actually really nice because they're going to be going to Clash 2, Veterans to Clash 3, Ophelia's Roar to Clash 4, rerolling 6s, Terrifying 1, Impact 4. And then they got the Tip of the Lance, which gives them Wedge, so after they've hit everybody with their excellent accuracy and the Terrifying, they're going to do a bunch of cleave damage with their 5 attacks at Clash 3, Inspiring to 4. Like, I'm really happy with that combo. It's a lot of points. It's just under 500 points. But it's a very, very, very good hammer. And I'm actually thinking now of bringing one kind of decked out Household Knight unit with a Mounted Noble Lord in each of my lists, just to have that, because they have the tourney champion for that +2 inches on their charge to get that to threat farther. So they're not going to be caught out like the Order of the Crimson Towers are. So that's kind of like where I'm at with these guys. And Household Knight stock has gone up for me, but I think it's very specifically one buffed up unit of Household Knights. I'm pausing here because I'm making a face and you can't see it. So yeah, that I'm happy with that, but those are my caveats to it. And I would like to see Order of the Crimson Tower go to Movement 9. Ashen Dawn are probably fine at Movement 7 simply because they are the tanky cav, like their whole design is to be a tank. So they don't need to be as fast to justify their tank role, while Order of the Crimson Towers still need to get that charge because they are not as effective as Household Knights, because Household Knights can threat farther, so they're safer. Alright. Horse rant done. Then I have a min unit of Men-at-Arms. Another change that happened is that all the banners in 100 Kingdoms got cheaper. So a lot of banners were 10 points, went down to 5, 20 points went down to 15, 15s went to 10. So it actually freed up points that I had points left over in my list building, where I actually threw banners onto my Men-at-Arms and longbows in this list just because I had points left over. And I was like, oh, okay, like, sweet. Because normally I don't. Normally I did not have points left over just throw banners onto things because they were too expensive, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go take a character upgrade. What's going to be better for that character overall than just putting banners on everyone? So I really appreciate that, and that's a really good change. Then I got Noble Lord on foot. He's got Regalia of the Empire, Weapon Master for Cleave 1, Tactical 1. To get Regalia of the Empire, Regalia of the Empire is basically you get Dauntless and Inspired. So Dauntless means you can't break, and you're always inspired. So, yay! The nice thing about this is because you can't break, you could just deny as many duels as you want. Even though for Masteries I took Destroy Any Strikes because I had 10 points left over and took it already, and it didn't click in my head until after. So it's like, oh god. But you know, that could be something else later. What's really nice. For Household Guard, we got 5 stands. They got a Standard Bearer and Arms Master. So this is the put your Noble Lord in a unit of Household Guard. They're going to be going up to Clash 4 rerolling with the Regalia of the Empire, because when you have a Noble Lord and Arms Master, they go up to Clash 3. They're inspired, so they go up to Clash 4. And then you have rerolling 6s, so you're basically Clash 4 rerolling 6s. What's the top end of accuracy in this game, so you're good. They are a great medium unit. I like playing with them a lot recently. I'm actually very happy with them and what they do. However, you do need to take that Noble Lord with them. So if you want to run 2 units, take 2 Noble Lords on foot. But then if you're doing that, you are not taking a mounted Noble Lord because of how the list scenario packet list building happens, where you can't take more than 2 of the same named character. And the mounted version and the foot version count as the same. Finally, I have a unit of longbows with a Standard Bearer. That's it. I've been playing with longbows lately. I really wanna see what they can do, and they did not get changed at all. I believe they're no, they did get changed. They're 140 now? Where are you 140? Used to be 135. Maybe they went up 5 points. God damn it. I know there's some point adjustments on longbows, and that was really it, but their range, offensive power, all that stuff did not change at all. With that, that's my list. I'm gonna slow roll my rules for everyone so they can have a look. So, you know, just pause the video if you see something you want to read more of, and if you don't, you know, just sit around, you know, pour yourself a cup of coffee or something, and sit back and relax for my first game ever into City States. Alright, let's go look at City States. Here's my opponent's City States list. He is running an Aristarch. I will have to say right off the bat, if there's stuff I don't really know a huge amount, this is my first game into City States, and I didn't read a huge amount into City States, so it's mostly going to be the battlefield orders, when I'm going to go down to the rules section, read, and the supremacy ability from the Aristarch, the infantry tactics, and kind of talk about their army-wide ability of the strategic stack. But a lot of this is just meat and dudes, and like more defensive meat and dudes. So he's running an Aristarch with his battlefield orders and his infantry tactics supremacy ability, so we're just going to scroll down, check those out, and then I'll come back up. So battlefield orders. At the beginning of this character stand's activation, select one of the following. Yeah, okay. So select one of the following orders until around the regiment this character stand is gets the effects. Can only be affected by a single battlefield order or battlefield tactics. So I believe the battlefield tactics are from the Polyarch, while the battlefield orders are from the whatever this guy's called, Aristarch. There we go. Did it. So the things he gets are Arms of Steel. The regiment gains Untouchable, and Hearts of Iron, they gain Bravery. So Bravery, they ignore the fearsome and terrifying rules, and additionally start of their activation after resolving any draw events, they get to perform its first action, they remove the broken status. And Untouchable, the regiment rerolls fail defense rolls of 6. He mainly just does Untouchable, because that's a really good one, especially because he's in a block of hoplites. Battlefield Tactics, it's right here, so I might as well talk about it. These ones are on the Polemarch. I assume that guy has like the biggest spear. Same things, but only can be affected by one. You got Fight in the Shade. Enemy regiments performing a volley action against their regiment must re-roll successful hit rolls of 1 until end of turn. That's a really nice one. He does use this into me, actually. And I do have to re-roll my ones. Like, I actually rolled a bunch of long bow shots, and I had 4 ones, and I had to re-roll them, and I got like 2 2s after. I'm like, oh my god. So I only did 2 hits, and then he's just like, oh, I made my saves. Like, okay, cool. And then finally, come and get it. The regiment, the character stands a turn attached, gains Unyielding. And Unyielding is your opponent cannot claim an objective that is contested by a stand with this special rule. This is a very good one. And I think you should be using this the moment you get onto an objective, and the moment your opponent is looking to put anything on that objective. That is the one you should be doing, because denial of points is just as good as scoring points, and that can keep you at that either even pace or knock your opponent out from, like, let's say doing that double scoring. Like if they control both zones and then they get, you know, those additional points, you can deny them, and you just need one stand around to do that. And it seems like you can even do this while you're broken. Maybe that's a change. Maybe I should send an email off, because maybe that shouldn't be a thing, but who knows? I'm not a developer. I just play games for a living. Actually, I have a real job for a living, but yeah. Overall, I like both these rules. They're very strong. They also are effective at different parts of the game. So when you're running up the table, you want to do find the shade, and when you finally get on an objective, do come and get it. And if you're holding that objective, like let's say you fought everything off and you're just there, then you just, spam fighting the shade to keep yourself alive if someone's trying to shoot at you. Like, these are very good options for both these characters. Infantry traffic, so let's go look at that. That's the supremacy ability. Supremacy ability, where are you? It's gone. Oh no, there it is. While this character stands on the battlefield, when a friendly regiment activates by drawing its command card from the strategic stack, the regiment adds +1 to its march characteristic until end of round. In addition, when any friendly regiment performs a withdrawal action, they do not have to reform facing away from the regiment they are withdrawing from. Instead, the regiments may perform a backwards march, moving up to their full march distance rather than half. When an infantry regiment performs a withdrawal action, they do not roll a die, they automatically perform a clean withdrawal. The supremacy ability is always considered active. So once the character is on the battlefield, this is always active. I don't mind it. It was actually, like, my opponent played with it, and he would, so how the strategic stack work is you kind of give up an activation early on to do a double activation later on. And how that works is you have your command deck, you will draw a card, you will look at it, and then you will say, hey, I want to put this in my strategic stack, and you put it into a deck beside your command deck. Then your opponent goes. So then your opponent does his stuff or their stuff, and then after a couple more turns, or maybe right after, you will say, I'm gonna activate this card. So you pull a card from your command deck or from your strategic deck. I don't know if you have to do which one first. I think you just draw them whenever. Like, you could choose to draw your strategic card, resolve it, then you can choose to draw your command card and resolve it, or you can choose to draw your command card, resolve it, then your strategic card to resolve it. So you give up an activation to do a double activation later on. And with infantry tactics, this just gives you bonuses from drawing regiments from that strategic stack. So a lot of stuff is March 5, and they have no way to get banners, so they can't go like that +1 march when they run up the table for that second march. But this increases their march characteristic by 1. So instead of going 11, they'll be like going 12. And because a lot of these units have the phalanx rule, their charge is +3. So at one point, my opponent, and I'll point it out when you actually see the full battle, pulls his, I believe his phalanges, the spear boys, from his strategic stack, measures out 12, measures out an additional 3 for 15 inches, and he's in range of my men-at-arms, and he just does a march charge. Gets it. Done. It's kind of nice if you need that little speed boost for your guys. Overall, super powerful? No. Consistent? Yes. Let's get into his hoplites. So he's going to be running 2 of these bricks, one for the T-Zark. He has in his warband a unit of 4 stands of hoplites plus 1 stand of a Minotaur Haspis, which is an auxiliary unit. How this works is the Minotaur Haspis is added on as a Minotaur stand onto the regiment. You only get 1. He does not have a resolve defense or evasion stat. You use the defensive stats of the regiment itself. He does have 5 wounds compared to their 4. So, but he is movement 6, they're movement 5, so he still has to follow their movement 5. And he allows you to do a little bit more damage. So on his special rules, you have Brutal Impact 1, Cleave 1, Impact 2, and a shield. So once the hoplites charge into something, you'll be doing 2 impacts with Brutal Impact 1. Okay, not terrible or anything. But the thing is he's making 4 attacks at Clash 3, while the hoplites are Clash 2, and he has Cleave 1. So that's like a little bit more damage. You're paying about, I think, 55 points for that thing. And for a bit more damage while you fight things that are usually kind of fair fights at the hoplites. So like if the hoplites are stabbing at men-at-arms and men-at-arms are stabbing back, like they're kind of going back and forth. If you have a Minotaur Haspis in your list, the Minotaur Haspis is going to edge that out into your favor. As stands are dying, because he has 5 of them, you would kill off basically all your backstands of hoplites. I believe the Minotaur Haspis auxiliary has to be in the front rank. So if you have leader Minotaur Haspis in your character and then like that's gonna be like your 3 wide. While if you didn't have a character, then you just have your leader and your Minotaur Haspis, and then you can, you know, go wide from there. But he has to be in your front rank. So you'd start removing all the hoplite stands in the back, and then you get to the Minotaur Haspis, and you basically just get an extra wound on that stand. And once he dies, you lose out on all his stuff, and it goes from there. So he's usually the second last stand to die because you have to do the leader last. That's about it. I don't mind the Minotaur Haspis. I like how this is how it like does its auxiliaries. This is kind of fun and interesting. And overall, as a player who had to play into this, it was fun. It was kind of like, okay, well, I gotta be like, maybe I'll do enough damage and like kind of blow through that thing, and I don't have to deal with Cleave 1 anymore, or you know, what's going on there. Then he has his phalanges, who have phalanx and pike formation. I'm going to talk about phalanx right now. And this is basically on every single infantry unit, and it gives you +1 defense from the front, and it's always considered active, but your march is reduced to +3. That's it. You don't get to roll, you just get +3. So you're not doing any long marches, but you are getting secure, stable marches. Or sorry, not marches, charges. You're not getting long charges, you're getting secure, stable charges. They're just clash to... Oh, phalanx also doesn't allow you to inspire, so looking at their clash values, that's kind of what you get. So a lot of low clash attacks. However, it kind of makes up with that with a lot of support 3, support 2, putting those Minotaur Haspis into units so that you can actually get that damage out, and that's kind of what balances out the loss of Inspire. It's more support. Also because you have a lot of big sticks. They got pike formation. This is a rule either they had before, but one that's starting to make the rounds into other factions. Let's go down here, go back a little bit. Let me find it. Here we go. So, enemy regiments suffer -3 to their impact X special rule to a minimum of 0 when in contact with this regiment's front arc. In addition, enemy regiments that have performed a successful charge against this regiment's front arc do not benefit from inspired and shock special rules into the round. So this is your spear wall to prevent cavalry from charging you. And taking away impact attacks when cavalry charge you is really good. It limits their damage, and yeah, also this works on anyone with impact. So this will work on brutes, monsters, cav. This is very much a good defensive unit for that. The problem is that players have been finding that just bringing more hoplites is just better because they're cheaper, and they do, I believe they're slightly better because they're higher defense, because they're defense 2 base with a shield and a phalanx going to 4, while these guys are defense 2 base with phalanx going to 3. So yeah, players have been finding hoplites are kind of better, and phalanx are in just a weird spot, or phalanges are in a weird spot because of it. I didn't mind them. I kind of get into a slap fight with them with the men-at-arms, and it goes from there. Next thing we have are the Hespitans. Hespitan? This is the monster with the hammer. He's the hammer guy. Movement 7, clash 3, 10 attacks, 14 wounds, resolve 4, defense 3, evasion 1. Really good stat line for a monster. It's cleave 3, hardened 1. Hardened 1's actually really nice on a monster because that defense 3 is going to be more consistent. Herald of the Forge God, impact 5, priest 2, terrifying 2. Oh, this is not the hammer one. I am wrong. This is the Trident boy. This is the Fire Trident boy. My apologies. This guy's very good. Herald of the Forge God basically says, to sum it up, is that when you cast spells, because he's a priest too, instead of 2 successes, you need 4 successes. However, whenever you do hits during your clash or impact, so if you charge in your impact 5, you get 2 hits from that, and then you do your clash and you have how many attacks? 10 attacks, and you get, like, let's say you're going to be like 4, so let's say you get 7, so there's 9 plus 2 is 11. Now these are just hits. You don't have to wound, you don't have to kill, you just have to get hits. Then you're going to take those 9 dice and you're going to roll them on the spells, and you need 4 successes to get it off. And he has Crucible of Fire, where he gets Aura of Deaths like 7, and Trident Strike, where every success he does another hit. He's going to be doing damage because he's cleaved 3. And the impact attacks are there just to kind of like fill in those priest levels. So what usually happens is he charges in, does some impacts, hits people with his trident, does some more damage, and then shoots off a trident strike, doing a ton more damage. And this did happen, and it does a ton of damage. Like, it is very effective, and this monster is very good for what he's doing. Then lastly, we have the... This is supposed to be... Oh, it's split. Yeah, so the Polemark actually takes the hairspin. I went down. You'll have to excuse me. First time really reviewing these lists. So the next monster I guess I'll talk about is the Promethean. This is the Hammer Boy. And as you can see, same defensive and offensive characteristics. However, he has Cleave 2 instead of Cleave 3. Same Harden 1, Forge of the Gods, Impact 5, Priest 2, Terrifying 1. His whole thing, however, is he's actually buffing people. So Quench Plagues and Tempered Resolve. We'll just talk about these. Tempered Resolve. All friendly regis within 8 of this may re-roll defense and morale tests rolls of 6 until underground. So he's your support guy. And where is the other one? Clench Blades. All friendly regis within 8 of this regiment may re-roll hit rolls of 6 and add 1 to their clash characteristics. So this is very much your support giant, while the other one is your offensive giant. I like both of them. I think you're going to get more value overall by taking the Fire Trident Boy than you are with the Hammer Boy. But the Hammer Boy is, like, he's also a medium, so he's on the table more, and you want him like fighting things around other units. So he kind of wants to follow another regiment around, and you kind of want him to get in there first and then have that regiment come up and finish off whatever he's killing, or just push forward more to cover him, kind of thing. Then we'll go down Polemark. He's got Battlefield Tactics, we went over this, Fury Shield, he's just a fighty boy. Stand of the Orientation, I will just go over this. I did a quick read of it. There it is, there. So, regiments this character stands currently attached to always count as being under the effects of Inspired, even if another special rule like Phalanx or Automation would normally prohibit the regiment from doing so. There you go. I guess his hoplites have Inspire. Architects 1 allows actually Unstoppable for the regiment that he's in, so that allows you to re-roll your charge. Yay! He's in a unit of hoplites with a Minotaur Hespis. We've been over this. Then he has 3 medium brutes, what are just Minotaur Hespises. They are Brutal Impact 1, Cleave 1, Fearsome, Impact 2, Shield, and Vanguard. Vanguard's really nice because he gets movement 6, another 6, and a third 6, basically. It's because he gets a free march action onto the table. So they're gonna be 18 inches up the table. Really good unit. Pretty tanky, but also can do some really good damage, especially as a medium. I like them. They're good. Overall, for what my opponent built, I really like his list. I like the choices he made, and I think it's really good and solid. And if you wanted to learn city-states, I would actually say basically buy all this. Like, you're not going to go wrong with buying this, except maybe the Phalangites. Find something else than the Phalangites. But you know, that's kind of what you got. But yeah, I really like City-States is doing, and I actually had a good time into this game. Before we run off to look at the scenario, I'm just going to slow roll the rules for everyone so they can have a better look at them, because I've kind of been running around here, reading off stuff, learning these as you guys are viewing it. Okay, now let's go look at the scenario, because I'm excited to talk about this game. Today's game is played on head-to-head. We have a neutral 12-inch zone right here off to the right, and then we got our friendly 6-inch zones closer to each player's table edge on the left. For victory points, you get 3 VPs for scoring the 12, 4 for scoring your enemy's zone, 2 for killing an enemy warlord, 2 for killing a character, and 2 for every regiment. I like this scenario. It kind of forces a fight over this 12-inch zone early on, and then as things progress, people will start trying to like shoot a regiment across into your opponent's zone if you're over committed or over focused on that 12-inch zone over here. These are far enough away from each other that you can actually put some terrain features here that are like relevant, kind of where I'm circling, just to like not block out, but actually be relevant to the to the table and have regiments march around and fight for it all. And with this game, you'll actually see me transition from the right side to the left as the game goes on. So you'll see it happen. Overall, it's a good one. I like it. It's not too complex, but it focuses in on there's something to fight over and there's a decision to be made, as well as just kill points. So let's go look at our table. Here's the table we're playing on today. Our objectives, or our objective zones, are right here and right here. This guy over here that you can easily see. Things we have a size 1 obstruction over there, a size 3 obstruction over there. The forests are size 2 and they're obscuring and obstructing, so you can still move through them, but you can't draw a line of sight and they reduce shots if you're in it or firing through it. Then we got 2 hills here would increase your size characteristic by 1 while you're on them. And then we got this forest over here. Oh, sorry, we have a 3rd hill over here. Look at that. And then we got this water feature over here that is -1 clash when you have a majority of your stands in it. That's the table we're playing on. Things I gotta say about it, there are just kind of a main path right here. There's not so much a main path through the middle because you kind of get like blocked and have to move around this stuff. There's no main path between the two head-to-heads. Like, you can still run through the forest, but it's not like if you're sitting on your zone to protect it, you can't just shoot your opponent over and over again. So if they're sitting on their zone, they're not just taking shots with that forest there. And then sideways, if you're transitioning from one side of the table to the other, you have a bunch of terrain you got to get through to get there. Yeah, and that's our board. Let's go look at turn 1. Here's turn 1. My opponent has no lights in his list. It's one of the kind of, I guess, gripes of a City States player is that their 2 light boxes aren't out yet, and they have very little lights to choose from to begin with. So turn 1, I just run, I believe, like 7 inches up the table, because I measure out 11 here, and I'm planning to have my household guard, who I want to come onto the table next, fill up this spot, because I want my household guard to get into that zone over there, and then I want my longbows to kind of be, I can use that color, kind of be, these right about here, allowing them to pepper anything that's trying to get closer, and if need be, they can shift this way, and then just pepper over that way, trying to find the gap between the trees to shoot at stuff. That's my overall game plan for the first turn. I know, not very exciting and not very like, oh, this is why I did this and stuff like that, but, you know, a lot of mediums are going to be on the table soon, so we're going to see how those guys go. Let's go have a look at turn 2. Turn 2 here, I get my, let's see here, my household guard, bloop, and my household knights, bloop. My opponent automatically brings on his hoplites with his polemark, and his Minotaur Thespis over there, and then his phalanges over here. I believe we go into a character dead draw because I have 2 characters, he has 1 character, so I believe I win the roll off, I draw a character, he draws a character, I draw a character, and then he draws an actual thing. He initially moves up his hoplites to here. I go okay, I bring up my household guard who hop over my longbows right to there. Then he brings on his phalanges over on the left here. I then think about it and I bring my household knights up as far as they go, 15 inches, in kind of like a middle area because I don't know where I want to go just yet, and I'm very much looking for a side charge. Like, I want to swing them and hit the hoplites in the side when they start getting to the zone, or I want to swing them this way and hit whatever else is going to be coming and filling in this area in the side, and I believe they can do it safely from that position because they have that longer charge range with the tourney champion. My household guard, I'm basically just going to be running them in the zone next turn so they can start scoring and fighting over this, and my longbows are within range of his hoplites at that position, so even if he brings something up to support them after, the longbows can still shoot at those things, and they're in a really good spot just to unload shots into stuff. No scoring is done, just because you don't score for your own friendly objectives. I left my friendly objective free of anything because I plan to just put the men-at-arms there who will just sit on it for basically the rest of the game and just try and keep it safe, because I'm going to be scoring with the household guard in the right zone, And they're going to need more offensive capabilities in that zone to deal with whatever my opponent is going to be coming in with. Let's go look at turn 3. Here's turn 3. And I automatically bring on my Crimson Tower Knights. And I roll and get my Men-at-Arms as well. My opponent, he decides to bring on his Minotaur Thespis, his Hammer Boy. I don't know how to say it. I'm just gonna call it by their weapons. You'll have to excuse me. And then I believe he brings on his Warlord with the Machinist. He does use his strategic stack ability with the Infantry Tactic Supremacy to, you know, put one of his infantry regiments into the stack and then draw them later to get that +1 march, so they're going like 12 inches instead of 10. And that's why his polo marks here are just like running up the table. We were kind of talking about this later on in the game, and I'll see if I remember to talk about it at the end. He was mainly like, he knows I have a lot of cavalry, and he's trying to counter deploy the pole marks to my cavalry, but if I just have my cavalry sitting back more, he can't really get into position, and the things he's trying to protect with them will just be moving forward because they need to move forward to be relevant, while the pole marks' whole job is to like defend off from impact attack guys. For myself, I have my longbows shoot into the hoplites here. He won the roll off and drew the character card to make me reroll 1s, so I get 4 1s out of my 10 shots. I reroll 4 of my 1s into 2 2s, and he saves them all, and I'm like, okay, cool. I start looking at running some guys over. I want to keep my horses back more. I don't really want to have them fighting stuff just right off the bat, and I put them both in the middle here because I want to split them and, you know, charge whatever charges me or like help flanks because they're faster than all my infantry, and that's kind of what I'm doing with them right there. That's, you know, why the Crimson Tower is there. My Household Knights are actually the last thing to go, and I'll explain what I'm doing over here. He then starts moving up stuff, so his Hoplite Brick with his Warlord comes onto the table, his Promethean comes onto the table. Draw, what is it, my Household Knight, or Household Guard, kind of just, you know, get up, you know, just run up. They're there to start scoring that zone and locking it down. And then eventually, he brings on his Minotaur Thespis, who sit right there, and I now have a decision. Because I have the charge range with a 4-up with a reroll from the banner and my tournament champion to either charge the Household Knights into the hoplites. I'm not going to get a side charge, I'm going to get a front charge. Or try and charge the Minotaur Thespis, who I think are even further out. And I kind of want to charge something and kill it to get that lead. Like I want to hurt something. And I decide I should go for the scenario ones and go for the hoplites, potentially kill or severely hurt the hoplites. If I lose the roll off, I have my Crimson Towers who will come in and hit the Minotaur Thespis, who are obviously going to be going to my Household Knights. And if I win the roll off, the Crimson Towers are either going to move and charge the Minotaur Thespis, or my Household Knights are going to clash, kill, and then charge the Minotaur Thespis. That's kind of what I'm going there, and I just think it was more advantage by doing this risk to gain a much bigger reward with my layering and what I have available to me compared to what my opponent has available on that side of the table. Because right now, a majority of his forces are focused in on the left side of the table where he's not scoring anything. While this is the end of turn 3, and I'm scoring this zone because I have more stands in it. He did not activate his, as long as he has stands in the zone, he gets to deny me points, what he probably should have done, but he was more worried about being shot and not like contesting the objectives just yet. That's the end of turn 3. Let's go have a look at turn 4. Turn 4 here, and a couple things are different. To start off with, my opponent run the roll off, had his Minotaur Thespis charge into the side of the Household Knights. They are Cleave 1, they're Brutal Impact 1. He did a couple bit of damage on the Brutal Impact, made me reroll Resolve, and I lost a horse or 2. Then he clashed me and did a bunch more damage, and I lost the entire regiment. So 5 horses in the flanks. I'm only defense 2 because I lose the shield. I'm -1 from the cleave, and I'm really rolling my resolve, and the entire regiment just dies. So it's like, okay, well that was really great and not what I was expecting, because this kind of this defensive, bit of a bite unit just wiped out like 1/3 of my list, and I'm just like, oh great. So my next cards were the Household Knights, who are dead now. I then go, well, so that's a dead draw, which then goes into my Crimson Towers, who immediately charge in, Brutal Impact 2, Clash, use Wedge for that Cleave 1, and just wipe out the Minotaur Hespists, and yeah, they're dead. He then has his Phalanges, they go into the Strategic stack. I then have my Household Guard, who just charge and kill these Hoplites over here. And yeah, oh, actually, no. He charges me. Yeah, because there's 2 wounds in the back here, and I remember why. There's 2 wounds missing right there. So he just charges me, does 2 wounds. I go activate my Household Guard. They kill them. Because I'm inspired anyway, I have a second action, so I just march up the table to secure the zone a bit better. He brings on his giant, who just runs up the table here. This is an 8-inch charge from my Household Guard to the giant with a reroll. Pretty good in my favor, and I know that giant's going to do a ton of damage, so next turn you're going to see me move off the objective to not score it to kill this giant, because I need to get in there first, because I don't need him impacting me to get more dice for his magic attack to do more damage into me, because you're going to see this giant basically go to town on all these Household Guard. He then moves his Hammer Giant over here. Something I gotta be aware about is that my line of sight is drawn like so, roughly, and I can't actually see the giant to declare a charge, because even though I'm only like 9 inches away, I can't see him, so I can't charge him. And this kind of becomes a debate for me next turn, where do I reform charge the giant, or do I go for a charge into the Hoplites? And that's kind of my, like, what am I gonna do? I don't know. He then pulls his Phalanges out of his strategic stack. They just do a march charge into my Men-at-Arms. My Men-at-Arms are at the bottom of my deck, and they just clash into the Phalanges, doing 7 wounds. Good job, Men-at-Arms. You're actually doing something for once. My longbows are in a good spot. They just move over so that they can see into the Phalanges over there, and they can see into this giant over there. He's a size 3 monster, the forests are size 2, so I can see over the woods to shoot into his giant. And they're effectively seeing the rest of my opponent's list, so I don't need to really move them anymore to get shots. They can see over here with their arcing fire to shoot over the Crimson Towers. They can see the other giant. So I have the longbows can support now very well into the rest of my opponent's army. For scoring, he doesn't score anything because I have more stands on this objective, and I score my 3 points over here. So getting those points up, staying ahead, killing his stuff, getting points for that. And yeah, I believe that's the end of turn 4, and we're going to be going to turn 5. Here's turn 5, and as you can see, I made a choice. And the choice I made was, I actually won the roll-off, and I drew my Order of the Crimson Tower card, and I decided that it'd be best if I killed the giant, because I feel that thing had more offensive output compared to the Hoplites, who are just a brick, and they're really far away from everything, and I can just kind of pelt them with shots, hopefully, and kind of keep them back for something else to deal with them, or just stall them out until I win the game on points. With the giant still around compared to the Hoplites, I also found that because I'm only going to be doing an impact attacks into the giant, I needed to make sure I was able to kill it, while I probably was going to still leave the Hoplites around, because the Household Knights did not kill the entire regiment of Hoplites. So I was kind of in that like idea or headspace that if the Household Knights didn't kill all those Hoplites, the Crimson Towers are probably not going to kill all those Hoplites, so I might as well go for the monster and just kill that thing. So this is, at the start of the game, I do my active supremacy of the First Blessing, putting Blessed onto the Order of the Crimson Tower, who get to re-roll their impact attacks, and I charge right into that Hammer Giant, who with my rolls, I think out of my 16 attacks, I get half, and then I reroll the other half, and I only fail like 2. So he takes a bunch of damage, and then dies from resolve, and he's dead. Cool. My opponent then, what does he do? He immediately charges me with his hoplites, and I go, alright, so I take a bunch of damage there. This Crimson Tower over here, he's down to 1 wound. And then I have my Private Commander over there. So yeah, they're gonna die next turn. There's no love for them. For myself, I get the 8-inch charge into the fire, or the Trident Giant. I do a ton of health. I think this thing has like, I think he got down to like 7. He actually survived a lot because he has Harden 1, so my Cleave 1 was negated. And so I was just throwing attacks into him. And then he, as you could see from his perspective, he just wipes out a ton of Household Guard. Banner, because I can't be broken, keeps me around so I don't just break and shatter, which is really nice. And yeah, I'm like, ugh. My longbows do take aim and shoot into the giant. I believe puts him down to like 3 wounds left, so he's not. So it's going to be mostly either who gets first and who fights, and then if he wins that fight, longbows are just going to kill him, and if I win that fight, Household Guard are going to kill him, and then they're going to get into the zone. They're just going to back up and score the zone. Over on the left, for the battle for my zone that he's losing, he does 5 points of damage into my Men-at-Arms, lost a stand in a guy, and then I do, I think, like 3 damage into him. So he still has his leader stand, but I'm kind of in the winning here just because I have more bodies and I'm slowly winning that fight. That's the end of round 5. No one scores. We just get the kill points for killing stuff. So we're gonna go to turn 6 and see if, we get that scoring engine back online. Here's turn 6. First thing I do is I have my Household Guard do the fight with the Fire Giant. This is mainly to secure that kill because I know my Crimson Towers are never going to survive that fight over here with the Hoplites. So I want to secure that kill and then move back into the zone to get me those points. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm good right there. I don't even reform. I literally just spend my second march action just marching back 2.5 inches. Like, move it back, guys. We need to get our butts in here. Then my opponent, I believe he does something weird. I believe he has the Phalanges fight. Yeah, he has the Phalanges fight into the Men-at-Arms for some reason. I don't know why. Like, it's like, just kill the Crimson Towers over here. He doesn't do it right away. But I make all my saves on the Men-at-Arms. I then have my Crimson Towers go. They do a reform. I roll under my resolve, so I get the clean reform, and then I fight into the Hoplites. His Hoplites then go and stab into my Crimson Towers, killing them. And then he gets the character, the Regiment, the Warlord, so he gets 6 points for that. My longbows, they take aim. They're starting to shoot into the Hoplites here. They can see this stand over here, so they just start unloading to that. I do 4 damage, so I'm starting to get my work done into these Hoplites. And then my Men-at-Arms finish off the Phalanges, and I'm in a pretty good spot. I can take shots as much as I want from the longbows into his Hoplites, because he needs to kind of pick, and he only has 1 regiment left. Like, is he going to try and get to this zone? Is he going to try and get into my zone? Like, that's kind of what he's at right now, and I have my 3 regiments. Even though in a direct fight, none of them would win at this point, I can stay far enough away and I can hold them off and score enough points to win. I once again score 3 points for the zone. Let's go look at turn 7. Here's turn 7. Things would go on. I believe he goes first. He runs up over to here. I get my Men-at-Arms to charge into them, and I think I do like a little bit of damage in this back, you can see here. Then I get my longbows to shoot into him from the side, what's really nice because I'm ignoring the shield, I'm ignoring the phalanx, so he's only going to be defense 2. I'm armor piercing 1, so he's defense 1 on all these, and he's just taking hits, but my dice rolls are like, we do 4 hits, and he's defense 1, and he still, makes some 1s, and he doesn't take a ton of damage. As well as my Household Guard just kind of run around here in the zone, scoring it. He's not in range of this objective, so he doesn't score that. So I'm working on his regiment that he has left to keep it down. I'm scoring points. I'm keeping away from stuff, so I'm in a very commanding lead. He can still do a ton of damage because that Minotaur Thespis, and was his character? Nah, not really his character, but most of the Minotaur Thespis there does a lot of damage just because he has Cleave 1 and he's a higher clash than the rest of the unit. So that's where he's just cutting down guys. So yeah, that's really it for this turn. We're going to go on to turn 8, and we'll see if the Men-at-Arms are still around. Here's turn 8. My Men-at-Arms, I don't know if they get to attack, if I won or not. Or either I won and instead of attacking with the Men-at-Arms, I maybe shot him with the longbows. No. I think he wins and he kills the Men-at-Arms, and then he reforms to get onto the scenario just with the edge of his character, and he wants to face the longbows so he doesn't get shot anymore. I shoot into him. I actually do a bunch of damage, but he did the reroll 6's defense of his defense battle tactic, and so him, he rolled 3 6s, and then he's like, oh, I get to reroll those, and then he rerolled those and he was fine. I was like, okay, great. And once again, my Household Guard are on this objective. So he's scoring 4 points finally, I'm still scoring 3. He's down a lot of stuff. I've been consistently scoring those 3 points each turn. I'm up on points right now. I don't think he can actually win because our score difference is so high. So these next couple turns are just going to be really quick of me just shooting into him, just trying to whittle him down, because, like, you know, maybe I get a good roll and he gets a bad roll and I just wipe out a bunch of stuff and I, like, kill everything he has, and that's a big point difference. So these next couple turns you're going to see me just go quickly and be like, okay, blah, 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 blah. Let's go see their next turn. Turn 9. Score points. Score points. He reforms just to get more stuff onto the objective, just in case I start whittling more and more of it down. I keep shooting at him. I don't think I do any damage for this one, so, you know, it's not really going in my favor, but I'm still up on points. He's still low on points. And we're just going to slide the sucker off to turn 10. Here's turn 10. Once again, still shooting into him. Once again, him still on that objective. Also me on this objective. And that's really it. Like, sometimes games don't have, like, a climactic finish or a struggle to the end, but throughout the majority of the game, I was focused on securing that middle zone to get those points, while keeping out as much as possible from my friendly zone, and also killing threats to me. So the giant with the trident, the Minotaur Hespices, the polar. I didn't care about the phalanges. Those guys are bad. God. I'll admit, they were not. My opponent, I agreed, they were not that great. But let's go look at the score and see how that went. Here's the score. We got turn 10. Yay. I have 33 points, and he's got 24. And that's the game. Overall, with the changes, I think they're good. There's a bit more that I kind of wanted from Parabellum and to see stuff. And I overall think this is kind of like a clerical change to uplift a bunch of rules and really state how things work. So a lot of changes, if you ever look through the army lists, are more about this character is also affected by this ability, because it didn't state it before, so then the character didn't get it. Like, one of the big ones was banners. Like, banners did not affect the character, so you would still be, like, if you played by rules as written, you would be still speed 5 even if you had a banner with a character in it, because the banner did affect the character. Well, that's kind of stupid and dumb, and not how it's supposed to work. So a lot of that stuff got updated. There's a lot of, like, minor point changes. Things I do want to talk about. As you saw there, I do like adding one unit of Household Knights, kind of buffed up, with the Mounted Noble Lord, with Tip of the Lance, with Ophelia's Roar. They're going to be an amazing hammer, but even with Defense 4, even though I was, like, hit from the side by a Cleave 1 unit, they just fell apart real quick. Like, those Minotaur Hespices just slaughtered them. I don't know if that would have changed if I got hit from the front, because then I would have been to Defense 3, not re-rolling my resolves. but it's like, hey, that's how getting hit from the side goes. I'm like, yeah, but I've hit stuff in the side before and they didn't like fall apart as bad as those guys did, so maybe it's the rules, maybe it's not. I don't count Household Knights as a tanky unit. I count Household Knights as an effective hammer unit, especially taking one unit super buffed up, doing what I did. I think you'll find success that way. I wouldn't run multiple small units. I would run just one buffed up unit, and they would do work from there. As for Crimson Towers, you kind of heard me talk about it from the start. Moomin 8, they need the speed. They're too slow to be effective for what they're doing. They don't catch anyone off. It's kind of obvious, and if there's ever a roll-off between two units, like that unit just march charges into you, and all your output is now wasted. While the Household Knights with the Tourney Champion have more leeway because they have that farther threat. Yeah, maybe that's the change. Maybe add a Tourney Champion equivalent to the Crimson Towers, but they need that distance to be effective. And it still does, even with the buff to their clash, where you want to charge and clash now in the same round for that wedge. They still have the same problems they did before because they're still slow. Rest of the stuff, really like the banner changes. Being cheaper actually allowed me to put banners onto guys, what was really nice. I kind of wanted to see maybe a little bit more with the longbows, because I still find longbows are just basically the same output as Merc crossbows, who are a restricted slot, who stick around to the end of the game, and I don't find them really doing a huge ton. They're just a really nice tickler, and that's about it. So I guess if you have if you're running a household guard unit, grab a unit of longbows just because you have a really nice tickler. It's going to be around all game, but I kind of want more out of something that's going to be a restricted slot. I'm waving my hands here. What am I doing? As for city-states, I like them. They're good. They have options, they have choices, there are different battlefield tactics and battlefield orders are really nice to choose from for whatever situation you're in. A lack of banners is kind of built into the faction, so it's annoying, but as you saw, my opponent took a relic, what allowed him to get around it. Phalanx is a really nice rule for that increase of defense. Their clash being low is supplemented by them having support on basically everything they have for infantry units. Their giants, I know the big one was their change to the giants, because I was talking to my opponent and he mapped it out where basically in the old system of how they did their magic attacks based on their hits, he was getting, I think, he was missing 2/3 of the time, while now he's hitting more consistently because it's a 2-4. They did change some of the spells, so I know Trident Strike before was for every success you do 2 hits, now it's for every success you do 1 hit, but instead of being a 2-2, it's a 2-4. So you're going to be getting something. What people wanted. They wanted to be consistently getting something, and not just like, okay, I do the Trident Strike and I failed, so now I don't get anything. Like, cool. Overall, first game into City-States, I really like them. I think they're good, and I can't wait for my locals to get more City-States to play into them. I think it's a good faction, and it has good choices and good stuff going on. The strategic stack is kind of funny. I do like it. Like, oh, I'm going to put a card into the strategic stack, go. So you can delay what you want to do while also doing a double activation later on to just kind of hit something harder or have something better set up for yourself, or just draw your opponent in because you still have that card in the strategic stack. If your last card is the card in the strategic stack, you do have to play it at the end. Like, you don't just like skip it. So yeah, I had a fun time with this game. Changes were there. I do like where 100 Kingdoms is going. I just want that little more, and that's just my opinion. And you know, everyone's got opinions, yay. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. A bit of a smaller game. I know the ending was basically a back and forth, but sometimes that's how games end. It's just a back and forth because the scenario is focused on scoring. Yeah. Hope everyone has a great day. Bye.